All right. What's up? Welcome in, everybody. You are tuned in to The Slate. We are a DraftKings show. We take you up until 6 o'clock on this Thursday. It is May 11th. It is a great time of year, action-packed sports calendar, and we'll do exactly what the show says. We look at The Slate. Jeff Ulrich will be joining us. Gary and Thorne is here now. Brendan Glasheen. Jeff will join us in the latter part of the show to discuss hockey, couple of playoff hockey games tonight. Looking at it, we've got New Jersey, Carolina, closeout game potentially for the Hurricanes, and then Dallas and Seattle. That series tied 2-2. And for our purposes now, Gary and I will take a look at the NBA, the association. If Gary's got a spot circled later on tonight in baseball, we can certainly take a gander. Only a 5-game slate today, Major League Baseball. Travel day, off day for most of the league.
Yeah, only 3 games tonight, too. So okay. Not a huge betting card, but I do have some bets I like.
Okay, excellent. So we'll get to those. Why don't we start basketball? 2 playoff games tonight. Celtics Sixers at 7:30, and the nightcap is Denver and Phoenix. Nuggets in a closeout spot, up 3-2. Series shifts to Phoenix for a game 6. And the Sixers are in a closeout spot as well. They're up 3-2 against Boston. Game 6 in Philadelphia. We'll start with the early game, Boston-Philly. What do you think? Celtics are this. I think this opened close to a pick'em or Boston -1. It's now Celtics -2.5. Money minus 140 on the money line. Totals at 212.5. Celtics get absolutely pasted in Game 5 in TD Garden. Series shifts back to Philadelphia. Well, I mean, look, I'll give you the quick Celtics angle. I've heard this a lot, and I don't blame people for thinking it, Garion, but I think a lot of folks are like, well, they went down 3-2 to Milwaukee last year, and they went to Milwaukee when no one thought they would win. I wasn't feeling great about it either. And Jason Tatum drops 46, and they force Game 7 Sunday afternoon. Boston's all they're having a great time in Boston. Afternoon tip. They're getting after it, and Grant Williams goes nuts and hits 7 threes, and the series is over. And they go to the conference finals to play Miami. But that Game 5 didn't feel like the Game 5 they played against Milwaukee last year. They blew a lead at the end, which was the theme we saw in the finals. Felt a little different. So I am big C concerned about the C's in Philly. What are your thoughts on the game? How you want to bet it? Go.
I mean, I will say initial thought process was pretty basic. That seems like a relatively good spot to bet the Celtics in a bounce back opportunity. Thinking more along the lines that they would maybe be, even money. As you mentioned, this line has moved pretty significantly, but never really got a number that I was super ecstatic with when it came to betting the Celtics. And now at minus 140, not really an area I'm super, super pumped to jump on. I think they still are the better team. And that's kind of the sticking point. I made a joke on Twitter a couple nights ago, and it was mostly directed
Jason Tatum is still 19.
No, I make that joke a lot, but no, this one was directed mainly at Adam Kaufman, who spent most of Tuesday's show talking about how the 76ers hadn't actually won a game yet in this series. The Celtics had lost 2 games in this series. So my point was, this is actually a really commanding 5-0 series lead for the Celtics because, they've beaten themselves 3 times. So that's 5 wins. The 76ers are playing really good. I think Tyrese Maxey...
They deserve credit. They do. Hadn't
really shown up yet in this series. And his shooting performance in Game 5 was, massive just in the context of Game 5, obviously. But, Tyrese Maxey is a very dangerous player. He is someone who, in the opening round series the 76ers had against the Raptors last season, averaged well over 20 points per game with a true shooting percentage up around 65%. He has proven to be a playoff performer in the past, and he was not having a good series. Suddenly he's interjected himself into the proceedings. We actually had a somewhat notable Tobias Harris playoff performance.
Yeah.
He was good. He was good in Game 5.
Making that contract worth it to a degree.
And again, look, Tobias gets piled upon because of that contract. And this happens a lot. This happened to Chris Paul. Remember 5 years ago when we were talking about how Chris Paul was the worst contract in the NBA?
Are you talking about the new contract that he got from Phoenix, or
the first one that was traded to Oklahoma City and seemed unmovable? But again, Chris Paul was still good.
Yeah.
It was just he was sort of being overshadowed by a number that an agent and an ownership group put upon him. It's not his fault he made that kind of money.
It's not.
And I sort of feel the same way with Tobias Harris, where still a very functional rotation player in the NBA, a very high, like a quality starter, but someone who his perception is just completely derailed by the amount of money he makes.
Yeah.
But either way, I think the 76ers, like Daniel House had a really nice game off the bench. I think DeAnthony Melton has shown himself to be, and I think a lot of people who watched Memphis the last couple of years truly believe that DeAnthony Melton was a playoff rotation player. And I remember being shocked at the price tag Philadelphia had to pay to acquire him. It seemed very minimal.
What was it? Danny Green? Didn't Danny Green go to Memphis? And it was like
it was basically just like salary filler and I think a couple draft picks, but like not much. And I really like D'Anthony Melton. I think he's a quality defender, if nothing else, and someone who can create, not as a primary creator, but still. So I think the 76ers have been good, and I don't want to take anything away from that, but I do think there's still the wild card aspect of James Harden. He's now had more good games than bad in this series, but the two bad games have been terrible. Joel Embiid continues to look healthier and healthier. I think that block he had against Jaylen Brown at the end of game 5. I mean, if you wanted evidence that he's feeling all right, that was a extremely athletic play. So again, I think Philadelphia's got a prime opportunity here. I think that now that this line has shifted as much as it has, I don't hate plus 120 for a 76ers team that has covered 27 of their last 40 home games. They are a very good home team. I know the perception is obviously, and it's backed up, that Boston has one of the best home court advantages in the NBA. Philadelphia's home crowd is also very, very well known and has quite the reputation. I mean, I think in a weird way, the value here is probably, if you like the Celtics to win this game, instead of betting them minus 140 on the money line, I would probably just bet them to win the series. Because if you think they're going to win this game in Philadelphia, you would also think they're going to win game 7 in Boston. So instead of betting 140 now, I think are they plus 150, sort of in that territory to win the series?
I am looking for it right now. Playoff series, Boston plus 145.
Plus 145. So I think that's probably the avenue I would take if you're someone who's looking to invest in the Celtics tonight. Because again, pick them. Yeah, I could maybe find myself on the side of the Celtics, but the way this line has moved, I really do think Philadelphia at plus money at home, having already won 2 games in this series, or the last 2 games in this series, it's pretty tempting.
Yeah. So what is out though, and it's a popular stat to throw out there, is Doc Rivers' brutal record in closeout games. 61 or back it up. 16 and 31. Doc Rivers in closeout games. You could think back to the Clippers days when he lost to that Durant, Harden, Westbrook OKC team, when he had the Clippers, when they took on Houston, who had Chris Paul and James Harden, these Sixers teams, the Atlanta series a few years ago, which I think that was last year, right? That was the
2 years ago. That was the last good. That was the day Ben Simmons broke.
Right. 2 years ago. And that's when Harden was hurt for Brooklyn. Kyrie was hurt. Durant. Yep. Okay. Very good. And that's what that was exactly that. Right. That was the year 2 where Durant's foot was on the line, et cetera, et cetera. So I hear all your points. And I think for the Celtics, I'm pretty sure we were on at least for one of these games prior to. The Celtics want to play a faster paced game. And the Sixers,
and they did sort of do that in game 5. I mean, it was a low bar to clear. The pace of play in game 4 was 86 possessions per 48 minutes, which is unconscionably slow. It was up to 95 possessions per 48 minutes, which, grand scheme of things would have been the slowest pace in the NBA during the regular season. So it's not a fast pace. Philadelphia is still sort of dictating how they want to play it, but at the very least, Boston was able to speed up that game slightly. It just also, like, in a way, Boston's defense has been so good for the last year and a half. Philadelphia's offensive rating the last 2 games has been over 120 points per 100 possessions.
Mhm.
It seems a little far-fetched that they're going to continue to score that efficiently against a defense this good. However, it's not like what Philadelphia is doing is overly complex. I mean, it's a lot of James Harden isolation. It's a lot of foul drawing, but that's what this team is at its core. But it's a lot of just pick and roll with Embiid as the roller or the screener, excuse me. And Boston was just unable to stop variations of that play for the entirety of the second half. Like, and how many open, like, pick and pop 12-footers from the free throw line did Joel Embiid have in that second half? I think I can remember 3 off the top of my head. Like, Boston just didn't adjust. I'm not quite sure what that was. And then obviously you got into a situation where, like, Joe Mazzulla's kind of throwing stuff against the wall in hopes of something sticking. We get like Peyton Pritchard minutes.
Right. They never made a run. No. Almost always, even if you lose the game by even the Lakers last night, they lost by double digits, but they made a little run to cut it to 10. And you're like, okay, like now the Celtics did make a run at the end. It was 113-92, but they put my main guys in there, you know, and they made it closer than it was really, than it really should have been.
I mean, they made a run in the second quarter because, like, the first quarter was dominating.
And to Doc Rivers' credit, he called a timeout in the first quarter late and in the second quarter about midway through to quell any sort of enthusiasm on that Celtic sideline, for sure. So with all that said, how about the total? The total's gone over in 4 of the 5 games in the series, and it's still at that same. If anything, it's actually coming down from what the number has been in previous games in this series. 213 and a half the last couple. It's at 212 and a half. I would imagine an under correlates better for Boston. Oh, I guess it can correlate well for Philadelphia too. But when the game has been lower scoring, it's been Boston winning, Philly won 115-103 in the game in Boston the other night, but all their starters came out. But in a game in which all the starters played most of the game was game number 3 in Philadelphia, but it did go slightly over.
Yeah, the only under we've had in this series, Philadelphia basically just could not score. And that's the only way we got there. I got sucked into the under last game, obviously did not hit. I think it's a slow series. We know that. It seems like game 4 is going to be the aberration, though, just with that level of pace. That, again, is not a number that I think I've even seen the last couple of years in terms of NBA pace. If it's hovering anywhere between like 92 to 96 possessions per 48, I do think, again, Philadelphia is scoring so efficiently that there's probably a little regression on the horizon for that. Although, the thing they do well is death to unders, which is free throws, because free throws are such a high percentage possession and they stop the clock. And man, Philadelphia gets a lot of foul calls. And Boston, on the other hand, such a horrendous 3-point shooting night in game 5, like Al Horford 0 for 7. I know that's a stat that's been thrown around so much. You feel like they're going to make a couple more threes, even though this game is on the road. So I'd probably lean to the over, just because, again, these two teams have at least shown themselves to be capable offensive teams, despite the defensive reputation that each has.
Anything in the player prop market? I want to shout out. Now, this was a big play for LaMarca. He tossed this out game 1 in Boston because Embiid was out. He actually encouraged folks to take Tobias Harris double-double. He did get there last game, but the play there was because Embiid was out in game 1. So LaMarca was staying with it. Maybe he probably would have got a better number too. But anything in the player prop market that you're looking at? Because it sounds like, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but it sounds like you're not like loving the idea of taking the Sixers on the money line, even though you like the price, and you're not loving a total. So is there something that you feel more confident about?
Nothing really, really stands out.
These are tough. These are tough games.
Yeah, I mean, the total feels pretty right. Again, I think there's value on the 76ers. But yeah, I don't know. I do feel like Boston is for as gray and as scary a place as Celtics Twitter has been the last 48 hours.
I haven't done anything to contribute to that. I haven't. I don't think
I know.
I just go silent, you know? They can't say anything bad.
They're still the better team. So it even though I do feel like I see value with the 76ers, it's tough to just be uber confident when you go into a spot thinking, well, they're not the better team. Yeah, I mean, like,
if you got nothing, it's fine. I'm just curious.
No, it's cool. I mean, we can look. Let's take a look at the points props and just see what kind of,
because we do want to get some time in here for Nuggets and Suns. So
yeah, I mean, there's interesting storylines in that game too. I think, you know what, Horford alternate points is kind of interesting at plus 125, just because, again,
10 plus,
you can look at an 0 for 7 shooting performance from 3-point range in two ways. One, he missed all his shots.
Plus is plus 500. Holy cow. Okay.
15 plus is maybe a little ambitious for me, but 10 plus at plus 125. Again, at the end of the day, this is a guy who took 7 3-pointers. Philadelphia is clearly willing to give Al Horford this shot. He's only got to make a couple, and he's going to play major minutes. I mean, again, he and Grant Williams, to a certain extent, have definitely been the best defenders on Embiid in this series. So it's not like Horford is going to be replaced in the rotation because he's not shooting well or had one bad shooting performance. So I think that's a plus money bet that I'd be willing to take on the prop market.
Okay. And Joe Mazzulla, I know, like, you can't take these things with you got to take them with a grain of salt a little bit, but Mazzulla did say, and I'd be surprised if Mazzulla wouldn't use Horford. He already had the quote that Al Horford's an elite shooter. Horford laughed it off earlier in the series, made some big shots. I think that was in game 3 where he had 17 points, 5 made threes. So he needs the 3-point ball to get to 10 or the 15. And he already had said in an interview on radio this week that he will ride with Al Horford. It's just the Robert Williams thing is confusing me, because wasn't the whole point of resting him and getting him ready was for this? So
he just doesn't look great.
I know. All right, we're moving on. Okay, that's how I look at it. We're moving on. Well, we did a lot there. So Celtics Sixers, that's the first game. Second game, Denver Phoenix, closeout opportunity for Denver. I haven't looked at this yet because the Nuggets are winning 3-2. They've got to be up there. I wonder where they are matched with the Lakers in terms of the title. Okay, they're the favorites. Denver's the favorite to win the title.
Yeah. So the Lakers were the favorite yesterday before they lost. And then Denver surpassed them last night. I think it's justified. Again, until someone wins a playoff game in Denver. Now, obviously, if the Suns win a playoff game in Denver, that means the Nuggets are eliminated. So this is a very easy prophecy to fulfill. But
no, it will be 3-3.
Well, they'd win tonight and then they'd go to Denver.
Oh, I follow, right, because it's in Phoenix tonight. I apologize. Yes.
But again, like Denver, that's such a massive advantage that Denver has. It's just they win so many of their home games. And they've looked so dominant in those home games in this series. I know people are really making light of the DeAndre Ayton news. And I know that's not technically official. Maybe something came out at 5:30. I'm not sure. But, Shams is rarely, if ever, wrong. I feel like Ayton's not going to be playing in this game tonight.
Said he was ruled out.
Well, I don't think that was official by the team. Shams ruled him out.
Okay.
Again, something may have happened in the last 45 minutes.
He was right on Embiid for game number 1. Said he was
he's right. I don't know. Working on the app has always programmed me to, just so everyone's clear, it's not official yet, but Shams is saying he's out. And everyone's sort of just like, well, he's been absolute crap the first 5 games. Like, why does this matter at all? And to some extent, I can agree with that. Ayton has not been good the first 5 games. I know some Suns beat writers have been tweeting out statistics, very interesting statistics about how much better the Suns offense has been on a points per possession basis with Jock Landale on the court, running pick and roll. How much more of a deterrent at the rim Landale has been so far in these playoffs. I would caution that we're dealing with small sample sizes, obviously. I think everyone 2 months ago would have said DeAndre Ayton's a better player than Jock Landale. I don't think there's a reason why that perception should be changed at this point, just because a couple of guys had some bad games. But I think the big thing for me is just the Suns were already a paper-thin team. And for as bad as Ayton has played, this is still just taking away another rotation player. Like, the underbelly of this Suns team, once they made that KD trade, and we've seen this with super teams before, is when you lose one of those key pillars, like Chris Paul, suddenly the lack of depth you have in your organization becomes way more apparent. Suddenly you're playing Josh Okogie 35 minutes a game in the playoffs. And now, sure, Landale might have a great game. That could happen. But it's just now it's like, okay, Bismack Biyombo's going to have to play some minutes. Like, just guys you don't want playing heavy minutes in a playoff series, particularly when the position they're having to fill these minutes in is going up against Nikola Jokic, who's having an otherworldly series so far. I know the Nuggets aren't a great road team. I really like the Nuggets tonight at plus money. I just think they have been the better team. I think the games Phoenix has won in this series, not only have they been close, but they have needed like superhuman shooting performances from tertiary players that I just don't think can recreate those performances on command. Like, I think game 5 was a really good representation of kind of like a level playing field on this series where Devin Booker was really good, but he wasn't shooting 80% from the field good. Kevin Durant's averaging 30 points per game in this series. Like, you're going to get the scoring contributions from KD and from Booker, but no one else can score on this team. No one else can create.
Yep.
And at a certain point, you can have two amazing players, but, you know, especially in this matchup, even those two amazing players aren't the best player in this series. Denver probably has the best player on the court. Phoenix has number 2 and number 3. And then the next 6 best players are all on Denver's roster.
Yeah.
I just think they're so ridiculously deep in general, but especially when compared to this Suns team. I don't often bet Denver to win on the road, but I think tonight's the night. I think they close out this series.
Okay. Jokic, and one of the wins for Phoenix, the game in which Jokic scored 53 points. They were out-rebounded in that game, 37-32. But even in the game that they lost game 3 in this Western Conference semifinal series, it was Denver on the glass, 51-41. And they've still been shooting. And in that game 4, both teams shot 56% from the floor. So, you know, folks, when you make more shots, you rebound the ball less.
And that was like the Landry Shamet game. And I know there's some reports out there that he's going to start ahead of Okogie tonight. I know it's an elimination game, so that means like, let's bump up the minutes for all of these key players. Like,
right. Well, and the role players play better at home too. That's
but
it's
again,
a lazy
role
take.
Players like TJ Warren can't shoot threes. Terrence Ross is sporadic at best. I mean, there's a reason. I know there's some like weird youth is served stuff that goes into these veterans not playing minutes on teams like Orlando, but Terrence Ross was not in the rotation in Orlando. And now he's playing playoff minutes for the Suns. Like, it just speaks to the depth issues that plague this team. And they're going to need Landry Shamet to hit like 5 3-pointers tonight. And if that's the thing it's going to take for the Suns to win, I'll bet against that at plus money.
DeAndre Ayton was a high-level star. I would call him like a low-level, like really low-level star. I would argue, though, the flip side, which I would push back on you with, would be it almost might be better for the Suns if he doesn't play. Because what if he does play and he's not right? That could just allow for more domination on the glass.
Again, right? There is a prevailing theory that Landale is going to be an improvement in that starting lineup. And I'm not saying that's not the case. All I'm saying is you're taking a shallow team and making them even shallower.
Yeah.
And I just have my concerns about that. And again, at a certain point, it's almost like the oldest school theory in the world when it comes to like betting the NFL, where you're like, you can break down every single positional matchup you want to break down. You can break down every trend you want to break down. But at the end of the day, we're talking about quarterbacks. And it's like, am I really betting quarterback A versus quarterback B, even if quarterback B has the better team? It's like, are we really talking ourselves into Jock Landale beating Nikola Jokic tonight? I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, I hear you. Jock Landale, 20-plus minutes in the 2 home games for Phoenix. I'm trying to look at. He had a couple of decent games in April, but he's
been better than Ayton in the playoffs statistically. I'm not trying to take anything away from the guy.
It's okay.
A lot of people are like putting a lot of stock into Jock Landale tonight, and I'll just take the Nuggets at plus money.
Okay, real quick. So if Landell's in, does that give you more confidence, even though the numbers have probably spiked up with Ayton likely out based on the Shams report? Does that tempt you into exploring the prop market, specifically Jokic, to clean up, or Michael Porter, who's had good games in this series, rebounding? Aaron Gordon's rebounded the ball well in this series too.
I mean, I think with Jokic, I'd be comfortable just taking the points, rebounds, assist prop.
Which is that player
probably like 47, 48,
53 and a half.
53 and a half. I mean, it's justified. He's been that
Choose
good.
to the over.
Yeah, I'd still probably take that over just like a straight rebounding prop. Just because, as you mentioned, like Aaron Gordon's such a good positional rebounder too. Yep. Jokic is doing so much at all times that like sometimes he's just not in rebounding position. So one of the like combo stats more than a rebounding prop, I think, is the way to go.
Okay. All righty. Real quick before we get Jeff on, your baseball play that you have for tonight, because there's only 3 games this evening. The Kansas City White Sox game just wrapped up. So 3 games remaining on this 5-game Thursday slate.
Yeah. I'll just take the under in the Giants Diamondbacks game. The total's set at 9.5 right now.
Yep.
It's not like the best pitching matchup in the world on paper. Tommy Henry actually is not a good pitcher. He's got as many walks as strikeouts so far this season, but he's left-handed, and that's really key because the Giants cannot hit left-handed pitching. They are one of 5 teams in the league entering play today with a WOBA below 300 against lefties. They're just 291. They have the second highest strikeout rate in baseball against left-handed pitching at 28.5%. So I think Henry can survive 5 innings. Maybe he gives up 2 or 3 runs. That's fine. Alex Cobb is the really big draw. He's got a 2.01 ERA, a FIP below 3. He's got the highest ground ball rate in baseball at 63.5%. He's basically become a National League version of Framber Valdez. And all Framber Valdez does is rack up quality starts. I just think Alex Cobb is very good. And generally speaking, an Alex Cobb game should not have a total of 9.5. Giants also have a pretty good bullpen. In general, I think this is like a 4-2, 4-3 kind of game. I don't think we get to 9.5. So it was at -110. Seems like it's getting a little popular. It's up to -115, but I do like that under.
Okay. The only thing I get afraid about with this Diamondbacks team is they love to run. They love to run when they get on base. They're one of the best base stealing teams in baseball a month and change into the season. So
they've hit great the last 2 weeks too. I just think Cobb's a really good pitcher.
Okay. All right. And that theory would be they keep them off the bases. All right. Very good. So there you go. There's your little baseball minute. Jeff Ulrich is now joining the program. Hi, Jeff. You picking the Sixers tonight before we get started with hockey?
What's that?
You heard what I said. I said you're going to pick the Sixers tonight.
Hey, pal. My gut baseball and NBA picks are now 2-0. So you need to be careful. Watch what you say. I don't know if I'm taking the Sixers tonight. I'm going to say no. I'm going to, it's so tempting. So tempting.
Really is.
I think Jason Tatum's going to have a big game. Let's take the over on Tatum points and rebounds. All
right. What's that? Well, now
that's my feeling. That's it. That's all.
Okay.
This is random. Just came into my head.
I mean, from a, Gary, and if you want to chime in from a sheer volume standpoint for Boston, both teams really. For the Sixers, they know it like the same approach. You look at it from the Lakers Warriors standpoint, looking at it from a Lakers standpoint in their game 6 in LA, Boston's on the road in their game 6. The Lakers game 6 to me, like Philadelphia, this is a game 7. They don't want to go back to Boston. They don't want to go back to Chase Center in San Francisco because historically, game 7s in NBA playoff series, the home team wins like 78% of the time. So point being, the Stars, your Embiids, Hardens, Tatum, Brown, they're going to play 40-something minutes in this game tonight. So from a volume standpoint.
Heck, I know it's Tibbs.
They've already played 40-plus minutes. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, I know it's Tibbs, so take it with a grain of salt, but Jalen Brunson literally did not leave the court in the Knicks elimination game last night. So things get dicey, games 5, game 6, game 7. So yeah, if you want to take some overs on some stars, that's a pretty good way to go.
Tatum points, rebounds, 39.5.
That's the way it should be.
30 and 10 get you there, which is for me, 30 is like a minimum for him. If they're going to win the game, he's going to have a big game. So, okay. Very good. Jeff, Stanley Cup playoffs roll on tonight. 2 games tonight, closeout spot for Carolina.
Yeah.
Game 6. at home. Do I have that right? Game 6 at home?
Yes.
They're up
Game 5 at home. Game 5.
Game 5. I apologize. They're up 3-1.
It was at home. It is at home though. Yeah.
Is at home, up 3-1. And then Dallas and Seattle.
Tied 2-2.
I know you've been really, really high on Dallas in these playoffs as a goal scoring threat. You've been on their team total overs quite a bit. So we'll start New Jersey, Carolina, an angle in that game.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're talking about elimination games, home teams. Carolina is, from what I read this morning, they're 5-0 in game 5s when they're up 3-1. I mean, that's historic. It's not really a big thing, but the Devils in the same spot when they're down 3-1 are 1-10 in their franchise history. So it you know, you can take that way you want, but it does give you a good glimpse of usually teams in the spot when they're on the road, they lose. I'm a little surprised that you can get Carolina. This morning is at -125. Really hasn't moved that much, -130. I'd still be fine with that. Straight up money line. And I think that you can even play them on the puck line. I mean, this is a situation where, you know, we're talking elimination games. We're talking like teams going all out. Devils are down by a goal or two with 5 minutes left. The goalie's coming out. Like there's going to be there could be 4 minutes of empty net time for Carolina to get a goal. So I think the puck line's in play for Carolina. Certainly I would just take them on the money line. Way if you do get an overtime game or something, you're still live. I just think that line is good. I think it's solid. You got a clear goaltending advantage. Freddie Anderson has been in his zone basically this entire series. Carolina has picked it up from a goal scoring perspective. They're getting goal scoring, and the Devils just don't. I mean, like it's not a big deal here if the Devils lose. They're a young team. They've already exceeded expectation for the season.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen this with younger teams. Colorado had growing pains. The Oilers got eliminated early a couple times. Like this is probably if this is the max of the Devils, that's fine. I feel like there's kind of that attitude. Like okay. We don't really have a goalie this year. We've done well. We took out the Rangers at least. This is probably it. Like I said, this line it's pretty generous, man. I'm surprised. Carolina Hurricanes not getting much respect. That's just where I would go. I don't hate the under here, but to me, the play is just take the Hurricanes.
You know what's popping out to me, Jeff, in all 4 of these games, they've hit the total. They've scored at least 4 goals.
Yeah.
And over 3.5 at plus money. Over on
and again, I think it kind of speaks to like that's not the game that the Devils want to play, right? So this series has been going against them the entire time, and you know, like could we finally see some tighter games and maybe you know the Devils clamp down? Sure, but doesn't mean they're going to win if that happens. Still at a goaltending disadvantage, and again, you know, like I do think that you may finally see a tighter game tonight, but. Okay. With the volatility of what happens at the end of games sometimes in the playoffs, especially when it's an elimination game, and just the trend of the series, I'm not going to play the over here, but if I was going to lean anywhere, it'd be under. But I just feel like staying off total is fine.
Okay, and you mentioned volatility at the end of these games. We saw that the other night when Dallas and Seattle played. There were so many goals scored in the final few minutes, right? Dallas and Seattle. So Seattle had a chance to go up 3-1 going back home, or pardon me, going to Dallas with a 3-1 lead. Now it's 2-2 in Dallas. What are your thoughts on the Stars back home hosting a chance to go up 3-2?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm riding with the favorite again. It's not as generous a line. And I think that the Kraken, though, feel like a bit of a trap tonight. I understand. I'm sure there will be people just going like plus 160 for the Kraken. Like we got to go here. I mean, they're a good road team, but you know, like you look up and down these lineups and, you know, the Kraken may have lost Daniel Sprong. They're already without some of their top forwards. They're getting like the Stars are putting up 4 goals a night. You know, like they had that one game where they didn't, but like Grubauer was not great during the regular season. They've kind of been riding him. The Kraken have. I just don't know how much longer this can persist. I really don't. I think the Dallas Stars roster is it's just better, and I think it's going to start to shine through. It's already started to shine through. I think Dallas controls the series tonight. Again, you are not getting the same kind of bonus here on the money line, but right. I think that's kind of telling you something. Like I'm okay with the reg line here at -120. It did work out last game. I was thinking of another series right about the reg line. So it did work out last game, and I don't have a problem going out and doing that again. You know, if it's a tighter game, the Stars like Jake Ottinger's been good. I mean, if the Kraken really turn it up, Ottinger can steal this game. And I just think that I don't even know if they'll need him to. I really don't. I feel like this could be it. So I expect the Kraken to put up a decent effort, but I think Dallas is just too much at this point. Yeah. I mean, what's the series line in this? It's got to be what, like minus 200?
I'll get there. Give me a minute.
Just wondering what it is compared to the. Yeah, it's minus 200. I mean, the other way you could play this is if you're into Dallas like me, I guess playing minus 200 in the series line is pretty much the same price you're getting on the money line tonight. So it gives you a little bit of safety. Whereas if Dallas loses this, you're still live. But I don't know. Just the reg line is a good number, minus 120. That's where I would go.
Yep. Any other as far as the cup is concerned? Any updates on how you feel about the full market with the 8 teams remaining?
So just now that I have the series lines up in front of me, I mean, I still think there's good value on the Oilers at minus 170. It's not a big line or anything like that, but like, we're talking goaltender issues with the Devils. The Vegas Golden Knights, I think, are about to experience the same thing. Aiden Hill and Laurent Brossoit are not going to stop the Oilers. I think asking them to win 2 of the next 3 games is a monumental task. Minus 170 for the Oilers is absolutely fine, in my opinion. I think we were getting minus 200 after game 2. So again, and then, just looking to the futures here. One sec.
Got them up right here.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
You're good.
No, I was going on my own computer. Again, liking the Oilers, I mean, plus 380. They'll probably go back to being co-favorites or favorites. So that, a little bit there if you think they're going to finish off the Golden Knights, which I clearly do. But I think that, again, you're looking at this. I mean, the Stars probably offer the most just intrinsic value there. I don't know. I mean, this has been such a weird NHL playoffs where if the favorites are all out, it's like up and down. Like even the Oilers, who I like, they've been just in a manic team. I mean, they don't show up. They're a young team, so it's really hard for me to be like, oh yeah, 380. Like this is a great number. Like it's fine, but none of these teams are like, all these teams have deficiencies, which is why I'll say the same thing I did when I talked about the futures 2 days ago. Just look at the team that's a little bit further back right now. Right now, that's the Dallas Stars. So plus 600. You could think about the Panthers too. I don't know if I want to trust the Panthers goaltending, but certainly the Stars at plus 600 is a team that, if they do, even if they take on the Oilers have shown that, like, again, they're probably going to give a couple games away because they're a young team, and that may not be good against Dallas. Dallas may be good enough. Whereas if they get given a game, that may be all they need. So I think the Stars right now, probably the team I'd be looking to the hardest.
I think what's telling too, you mentioned Carolina, you've been a fan of their goaltending. The fact that they're plus 110 to win the conference, that might be something, right? I only say that because if they do take care of business and beat New Jersey, what do you think their series price is against Florida?
Yeah, I mean, they'll definitely be the favorites.
Right.
Although I don't know how big favorites they'll be. I've imagined that the market won't be as underwhelming on the Panthers as it was against the Maple Leafs, where the Leafs were like, minus 200 or something. I think they're even shorter favorites, which just looks so ludicrous right now. But they'll be solid favorites. I mean, Carolina plus 280. They still got to take care of business here. So, I mean, I shouldn't get ahead of myself, but I mean, I'd be pretty surprised if Carolina didn't finish off New Jersey, even if it's not tonight. So they'll go down a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, the future, like I said, the NHL right now it just seems like such massive movement every night. We're not even getting close games. We're just getting blowouts. So very strange playoffs so far.
Okay. So the guys are leaning with home teams.
I'm going with the favorites in the home teams. Yeah.
Home teams. And well, in Garion's case, Sixers are not a favorite. They are a dog tonight.
Only with the Nuggets. Nuggets are a road team, my friend.
Who does Garion like? I was going to ask quickly. Who does Garion like in the Celtics game?
I like the value on the 76ers. I don't really love the lines either way, to be honest.
But yes, I apologize. It's true. You are taking Denver.
I feel far more definitively about the Nuggets winning tonight.
My gut call, just so I can stick the dagger in glass before we go. The Celtics win tonight, and then they lose game 7.
Perfect. 2 Game 7 losses to end.
Just so we can get the pure heartbreak that happens in Boston.
See, we're all in the Northeast, and this is supposed to be that great time of year where you get nice weather and playoff games. And for that to end before Memorial Day would be...
Wait, you're
such a
supposed to get
shame.
playoff games?
What's that?
You're supposed to get playoff games? What an entitled Boston.
No.
Absolutely.
We're supposed to get good weather during playoff games.
Wow.
So I guess I did say also we're supposed to get playoff games. So yeah, very entitled. I know.
Not my experience as a
Yeah,
fan.
no, not mine either. Of a decade of no playoffs here.
All right. Very good. Okay. So that's it. We got to go. Thanks to Gary and Thor and Jeff Ulrich for joining the show. A couple of picks in hoops, hockey, and a baseball play under in Arizona, San Francisco, 9.5 is Gary's lean in play for tonight. Thanks to Daniel and Eamon behind the scenes, getting us up and running. Brendan Glasheen, you all have a great Thursday night. The Slate returns tomorrow evening after the 4 p.m. Eastern Madden Sim, right around 5:15 Eastern. And you've got the Sweat tomorrow at 11 a.m. I'm sure tons of reaction to the NFL schedule release, which we didn't get to. But I'm sure that will be picked apart tomorrow. You'll have a great Thursday, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.